Morning. Here we are in Genesis chapter 38. Oh, no, that ain't right. Genesis chapter 36. That's where we're at. I'm kind of rushing ourselves. 36. And we're going to look at 37 today as well. But we'll just jump right in here. 36, verse 1. This is the account of the descendants of Esau, also known as Edom. Esau married two young women from Canaan, Ahab, the daughter of Elam, and the Hittite, and Oholibamah, the daughter of Anna, the granddaughter of Zion, the Hivite. He also married a cousin. 6. Esau took his wives, children, his entire household, along with all his livestock and cattle, and all the wealth he had acquired in the land of Canaan, and moved away from his brother Jacob. There was not enough land to support them both because all their livestock and possessions they had acquired. So Esau, also known as Edom, settled in the hill country of Shur. Now we see something very important there. God bless both of them, even though one is the promise and the other one was helping God fulfill the promise. Well, that ain't true. They were both brothers, twin brothers, and so but one did get the blessing of God to go out and multiply, but God blessed both families there as well. Esau's descendants is given in the account in verses 9 through basically 39. And so you can read about all the names in the family of Esau and all his descendants that came down from there. And then in verse 40, it says, these are the names of the leaders of the clans and the descendants of Esau who lived in the place named for them, Timnah. And it goes on then to name all the places that they lived in the area, listed according to the settlements of the land they occupied. They all descended from Esau, the ancestor of the Edomites. And then in 37, we pick up again. That's really about all we're going to read about Esau. We're going to read that his time is over and has ended. And, that's kind of the way it goes in the Bible. You read about a line that's away from God only so far. Oh, excuse me. And then it kind of stops. Doesn't mean that there was no more. It does continue on. The line continues to this day. But we are reading about life in the Bible and the line of life and the line of Christ. And so that line will continue. And so we pick up here with Joshua in chapter 37. So Jacob settled again in the land of Canaan, where his father had lived as a foreigner. This is the account of Jacob and his family. When Joshua was 17 years old, he often tended his father's flock. He worked for his half brother and the sons of his father's wives. But Joseph reported to his father some of the bad things his brothers were doing. 3. So we see right away about his brothers and that they weren't good men, that they did things that they weren't supposed to. And of course, Joshua told them, which didn't make them happy, but look at 3. Jacob loved Joshua more than any of his children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So one day, Jacob had a special gift made for Joseph, a beautiful robe. 4. But his brothers hated Joseph because his father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say a kind word about him. Now, what an important sentence that is. They hated him so much they couldn't say a kind word about him. Everybody around had to know about their hate because of favoritism, their hate because their father loved him more than them. Oftentimes we hear, well, so and so's the favorite child, and so's the favorite child, and they get what they want, and they whatever they can get by with anything. But many times it's unfounded, and many times there isn't a whole lot that goes with that. But in this case, there is a whole lot, and even the Word of God says he was the favorite. And so let's look at verse 5. One night, Joseph had a dream, and when he told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. 6. Listen to this dream, he said. 7. We were out in the fields, tying up bundles of grain. Suddenly, my bundle stood up, and all your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before me. And what we have is God prepared him for the future. What we have is an immature young man, though, not knowing how to handle it, especially when there is already hatred. And maybe it was his way of saying, hey, you're mean to me, you hate me, you say bad things about me, but you're going to do this. Verse 8, his brothers responded, so you think you will be our king, do you? Do you actually think you will reign over us? And they hated him all the more because of his dream and the way he talked about them. 9. So Joseph had another dream. And again, he told his brothers about it. Listen, I've had another dream, he said. The sun, the moon, the 11 stars bowed low before me. 10. This time he told the dream to his father as well as his brothers, but his father scolded him. What kind of dream is that? He said. Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow to the ground before you? 8. But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father wondered what this dream meant. His father scolded him, and maybe rightfully so for holding it over him and trying to brag. But yet he had to pause and think about it because dreams were an important part of life there. So he wondered, what did it mean? What was going to happen here? Of course, most of us know the rest of the story, so we know, but they didn't know at that time. Verse 12. Soon after Joshua's brothers went to the pasture, their father's flocks at Shechem. 13. When they had gone for some time, Jacob said to Joseph, your brothers are pasturing the sheep at Shechem. Get ready, and I will send you to them. I am ready to go, Joseph replied. Now we see something beginning to develop here very much. Joseph is obeying his father. What a key to anything in life is the obedience to our father. The Bible tells us we obey our father, it'll go well in our land. We'll live long in the land. Now, that doesn't mean everybody's going to live to a ripe old age, but there's blessings with obedience. But it goes farther than just earthly parents. It goes to our heavenly parent as well. When we learn to obey on this earth, and we can learn to obey our heavenly Father better. 14, go and see how your brothers and the flocks are getting along. Jacob said, then come back and bring me a report. So Jacob set off on his way, and Joseph traveled to Shechem from the home in the valley of Hebron. And so he set out to do that. Here his father sending him out to brothers who hate him, who can't say a single good word to him, but he's sending them out to check on him. 15. That's the other thing. They're out working, they're out slaving, and he's home in the comfort with his dad. 15. When he arrived, there was a man from the area, noticed him wandering around the countryside. What are you looking for? He asked. 16, I'm looking for my brother, Joseph replied. Do you know where they are pasturing their sheep? Yes, the man told him. They have moved on from here, but I heard them say they were going over to Dothan. So Joseph followed his brothers to Dothan and found them there. 18. When Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him at a distance. As he approached, they made a plan to kill him. Because of his coat of many colors, they knew who it was. And their hatred was so strong that they planned on killing him. 19. Here comes the dreamer, they said. 20. Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns. We can tell our father a wild animal had eaten him. Then they'll see what has become of it. Then we'll see what has become of his dreams. 21. But when Rehoboam heard of their scheme, he came to Joseph's rescue. Let's not kill him, he said. Why should we shed any blood? Let's just throw him into this empty cistern here in the wilderness. Then he'll die without us laying a hand on him. Rehoboam was secretly planning on rescuing Joseph and returning him to his father. 23. So when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off his beautiful robe he was wearing. 24. They grabbed him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. 25. Then, just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked and they saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming towards them. It was a group of Ishmaelite traders taking a load of gum, balm, and aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt. 26. Judah said to his brothers, what will we gain by killing our brother? We'd have to cover up the crime. 27. Instead of hurting him, let's sell him to these Ishmaelites traders. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood, and his brothers agreed. 28. So when the Ishmaelites from Midian traders came by Joseph, brothers pulled him out of the cistern and sold him to them for 20 pieces of silver. And the traders took him to Egypt. 29. Sometime later, Rehoboam returned to get Joseph out of the cistern. When he discovered that Joseph was missing, he tore his clothes in grief. Then he went back to his brothers and lamented, meaning he was sorrowful. He was mourning the loss. He was truly brokenhearted over it. The boy is gone. What will I do now? 31. Then the brothers killed a young goat, dipped Joseph's robe in its blood. They sent the beautiful robe to their father with a message. Look what we have found. Does this robe belong to your son? Of course, they knew it did, right? 33. Their father recognized it immediately. Yes, he said, it is my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten him. Joseph was clearly been torn to pieces. 34. So Jacob tore his clothes, dressed himself in burlap, and he mourned deeply for his son for a long time. Not just a short period, but continuous. 35. His family all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. I will go to my grave mourning for my son, he would say, and then he would weep. 26. Meanwhile, the Midianite traders arrived at Egypt, where they sold Joseph to Potiphar, the officer of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Potiphar was the captain of the palace guard. And so we see now the beginning of what's going to take place with the story of Joshua. Now, we also see a couple things here that are very vital. Um, Jealousy is sin. Hatred is sin. And sin always affects other people. So many times we think we can do whatever we want to. It's no big deal. Well, it is a big deal. It affects others. Sin always causes death. It causes death in jobs. It causes a loss, a separation. It causes heartache. It causes divorce. It causes so many different things. And so sin just leaves darker. Now, we also see, even though their sin is involved, God is involved, and God used the circumstance to accomplish His plan. God can use evil men to accomplish His plan, and sometimes it's not the way we want or the way we would think, but God has it under control, as we'll continue to see throughout the story as we continue to read. But that's as far as we're going today. Hopefully, we'll get on tomorrow. God bless you. Have a great day.